game still rapping at a high capacity. If Nas wants to smoke, come in the booth. I will rap
He don't want
circles
no
around.
smoke. He enjoying that 150 million, 200 million he done
Okay
made.
then, so then leave me alone while I'm on the field.
You was effing with him. He wasn't bothering you.
They don't really know who Nas is. If he's 22, he's born in 03.
Not all of them, some of them.
Jim Jones claimed Medto be more influential than NAS on Shannon Sharpe's program. Not just pertinent, but also crucial to the culture, and the moment he declared that, everything changed. Jim is in the gym talking diss tracks and barking back like he's getting ready for war and Rikers, but this isn't just about Nas, and it's definitely not just about ego. It feels like 50 Cent is reminding the industry who's truly untouchable and why some people have mysteriously avoided indictments. 50 Cent didn't respond with a post, and he didn't name names. Instead, he simply posted an old federal transcript on Instagram and let the streets do the math. Jim Jones may have started to make a point, but he may have now set off something far more significant than music. The friction between them didn't begin yesterday, so it wasn't just a throwaway generational remark. Their history dates back to 2002, when Nas went on a furious tirade and disparaged Cameron, calling his album a whack for no apparent reason. This was enough to send Dipset into full attack mode, and Jim Jones immediately jumped in. From there, things got messy, with Nas and Dipset taking it personally and threatening to slap the Kofi off Nas. They maintained that same intensity in songs like We Fly High and It's More Than Music, but this is where it gets more complicated. Jim has always loved Nas, and just a year ago, he wasn't saying anything negative about him.
Never got to, did I ever got to see Nas? I never got to sit down and have a conversation with Nas and things like that. I had called you about it and things like that. That was like still one of the people that I never got to have a conversation throughout my history of rap and things like that. I think I would love to have a conversation with Nas. I wouldn't know if he knows it, but Nas was one of my all-time favorite rappers coming up and things like that.
I've heard you say that.
Since the barbecue and things like that. Like he really put the whole dope boy rap, crack hustler, get fresh rap into perspective before any.
When Jim appeared on the podcast of Fat Joe and Jadakiss and Fat Joe, the admiration quickly turned to disdain.
Saw a clip on Instagram where a young kid was comparing you to Nas and saying that you got
that's my young boy.
big hits.
He's wild.
He looked to you. He learned how to wear the BB Simon belt from you. He got his swag. Like, how crazy is that? Because in my era, you know what I'm saying? Nas is like a god.
In my era.
You know what I'm saying. NAS is like a god in my era too, that alone could have been left on the timeline, but Jim wasn't done yet. He couldn't wait to elaborate on this topic.
But remember, Nas' first record, The Barbecue, came out when I was in 11th grade.
Yes.
So Nas was my idol when I was young. Like you did, came to dressing, the wordplay, the music, everything. I was a superior Nas fan, period. I'd never take that away from him, but then as I got in the game, you gotta realize that your rivals will be idols, and not to take anything away from that, I developed my own style and my own lane that these kids start to gravitate towards the same way I gravitated towards Nas when I was younger and things like that. It's a whole different generation.
Then, out of nowhere, he dropped one of the most reckless takes in recent hip-hop memory.
I came into light and started going crazy that these kids love me. They don't really know who Nas is. If he's 22, he's born in 03.
Not all of them, some of them though.
You know what I mean? Like,
I wasn't backing down, rather, he didn't falter. Instead, he doubled down. Jim didn't simply claim to be more relevant. He positioned himself as more influential than Nas, the Nas Queensbridge, the man behind Illmatic, God's Son King's Disease. The dude, who still sells out in Madison Square Garden in his 50s.
no diplomats, no nobody else. Me, Jim Jones, check my track record, then check everybody else's track record. Then go to the billboards and check all my entries, then check all them entries and and I'm not taking nothing away from nobody, but I hear the comparisons and then be trying to act funny when it comes. No, I've been spanking a lot of this talking about the industry. I've been putting on.
Jim Jones appeared on a completely different platform, this time on Shannon Sharpe's Nightcap, prepared to double down. He slid onto Nightcap with Shannon and Chad Oasinko Johnson to explain the remarks, but instead of just stirring the pot, he turned it over and set it on fire before the dust had even settled from that podcast. Shannon didn't overlook him. He began the conversation by saying,
You smoke, right?
Yeah.
Were you smoking when you said you better than Nas?
I might have been a little bit.
But what he said next made fans actually pause the episode.
I'm way more influential than Nas, and I don't care what nobody say. I know I made a little boo-boo when you talk about the sales and all this type of. I don't feel like getting into that rhetoric about where I started and where he started.
Well, you said that bullshit.
But listen, Nas was nice when I was in high school. When I was in 10th grade, Nas came out. Nas was dope. We appreciate him. He had a little bit.
But just when you think Jim has finished comparing resumes, he comes up with one more point. He began by bringing up an old argument between him and Nas from the early 2000s, in which he claimed to be a better Nas fan but to have outperformed him in Impact. He began to sidestep the issue by mentioning Nas's fashion influence, calling him one of the greatest of all time, but he kept returning to the same point. Nas doesn't have the same influence on the streets as he does.
And DMX and all these other people, like,
ain't no shame in that. There a lot of them folks came up second to Tom Brady.
He never had that type of influence on us, except for his first album. I already told you, I used to want to dress like Nas because he had a lot of fresh clothes that the hustlers used to wear, and we used to see him on TV. He had one of the illest albums of all time. And then in high school when he had the barbecue and shit like that. So I'm a real fan of Nas, but he kind of lost me after the movie Belly and shit like that.
Shannon wasn't having it, bro.
But lyrically, I'm gonna keep it a stack with you.
Yeah,
Y'all
but look how you dress. Look how you dress. You don't even be in the same places I be in. And the things that we listen to.
I can be in the church house. You can't F with Nas lyrics. I don't know who told you that. Now look, I know you on that good stuff, but you're not seeing Nas.
Jim, meanwhile, became so upset that he began making fun of Shannon's attire.
40 and 50-year-olds in their panties because I said I'm better than Nas.
It don't matter.
Look at you. Look at you.
Nobody from Dipset gonna take you over Nas. Nobody from the Diplomats but you.
Hold on, Jim. Hold on.
That shirt too tight.
Hold on.
That shirt too tight. You want to go back
Hold
to
on.
I really mean it? I really mean it started. We could go back to the history, bro.
But you didn't even
Don't do
say that.
bro.
By now, I was simply sitting there and watching Shannon and Jim fight.
High level.
Hey,
You check my record,
you
heard?
jumping up and
I'm
down.
still playing at a high level. I'm rapping at a high level. You better check my stats, bro. I will run circles around Nas rapping right. I will run circles around Nas rapping right now. Right now, I will run Saturn around Nas right now rapping.
Unk exploded when Jim claimed that Shannon had only invited him for opinions.
Been on.
Do you know what Nas
bigger than this one?
Hold on. We off topic.
I'm not a podcaster.
This
is what I do. You see
Name
you
a
in your
podcast you've been on
feelings? You see
bigger
in
than
your
this one.
feelings?
When you get big, you get invited to Club Shay Shay.
This is what I do.
Nas get invited to Club Shay Shay.
When Jim told Shannon Sharpe that he was superior to Nas, Shannon quickly turned it and moved from podcast host to opponent because she was prepared to pull him to the gym if he wanted smoke. Shannon tested his body in addition to his bars.
I'm bagging your clothes, big fella. You too big, man.
You talk about you in the gym. Now you want to want me to see me in the gym?
Oh, we can do that.
Since you like to talk that ish, now come see me in the gym.
We talking about working out.
Come see me in the gym.
We talking about working out or strength? What we talking about? Working out or strength?
Work however you want to do it.
We talking about
since you got money.
And we talking about
put your money where your mouth is.
So you talking about working out?
Run them stacks.
You talking about working out? I burn you. You talking about working out or strength? Because you probably can lift a lot more than me.
Whatever.
You're bigger than me. You're probably stronger than me. But if you talk about working out, I'll burn you.
This ain't what you do. This ain't what you want. You are doing good when you talk about Nas and Jada. You don't want to see this.
Instead of retaliating directly, he attempted to turn the conversation into a gym flex in which he challenged Shannon to a workout war in an attempt to demonstrate his continued relevance and dominance in a new arena. However, while Jim was still engrossed in gym gimmicks, 50 had already made his move behind the scenes, and that one label was still sitting heavy in the background. Meanwhile, the audience was going crazy in the comments section of the internet, consuming the fact that a retired NFL Hall of Famer was now defending Nas. As one fan stated, Shannon did what Fat Joe and Jada should have done. Jones, you delusional. Shannon, thank you for bringing it up, and that's facts because why were they so quiet during that interview? 50 had been watching the circus unfold from the shadows, and he wasn't laughing, but just when people thought this was done being hilarious, it turned petty because that's when fans resurfaced the clip.
Honestly, I can't, if it was like Jim Jones, imagine putting a pen to paper to write about him. He was so nice about him. How did you do that? What's the first sentence? What the fuck you ready about this? I'm not anxious to hear the Jim Jones diss record. Like, I'm like, yo. The used to have a little nervous with like B.I.G., Pop. Right. Even Cannabis, like Eminem, used to have you like, if we go at it, dog, we gotta go hard. You know what I'm saying? But these Jim Jones, like, I respect you getting your money. You're like, exactly, right?
That is the height of rudeness. Jim didn't just get ignored by Nas back then, he got laughed off the stage, and in 2025 that same energy is back in circulation, but it didn't end there because while Nas was staying quiet and Shannon was getting swole, someone else was watching everything from the shadows. As soon as 50 Cent caught wind of Jim's better than Nas claim, he didn't even blink, he just laughed, pulled out a few receipts from his bottomless petty archive, and REIT one of the most controversial rumors in hip-hop history after calling Jim Individual One. That one caption had the internet howling, because if you know, Individual One isn't just a nickname, it's a federal label straight out of a Tekashi 69 wiretap back in 2018. During Tekashi's 9 Trey Bloods trial, prosecutors played a phone call that they claimed featured Jim Jones, who was not named in court but referred to as Individual One. In that call, someone was allegedly instructing gang members to violate Tekashi for turning his back on the set. Jim's voice was never officially confirmed in court, and he was never charged, but the streets, blogs, and especially 50 never let that moment go, and now with Jim trying to puff up on podcasts and bait Nas into battle, 50 saw the perfect opening to remind everyone that the streets still remember. He dug back into his IG vault and reposted a meme he'd once quickly deleted, the one that said, "So that's why they ain't pull him and say it ain't so, Jimmy." In 2019, the Shade Room published an update on Tekashi's court case. A verified courtroom reporter claimed that Tekashi had mentioned Jim Jones as a 9 Trey member, and 50 couldn't help but write about it. Then, there was the notorious video of 50 displaying fear.
In Texas, please, whatever you do, don't tell them I'm in San Antonio. Don't tell them I'm staying at the Four Seasons. Don't tell them, please, don't tell them, because there's just so much pressure on me right now. I don't know what to do.
I'm afraid for my life. I mean, Jimmy is gang, he wrote precisely. Jimmy was twitching while the internet was laughing, but this is when things took a turn for the worse, because 50 had a stalemate with Jim for years, and this Nas moment offered him the ideal pretext to start dragging Jim around once more. Things became messy back in 2007 when 50 Cent brought Jim Jones and July Santana out on stage during a G-Unit show, right in the middle of Dipset's internal chaos. Cameron saw this as blatant disrespect, especially since the group was already disintegrating behind the scenes. Then, in 2019, during Tekashi 69's federal trial, Jim Jones was named as Individual One in a wiretapped phone call that prosecutors played in court, even though Jim was never charged. The name stuck, and the internet erupted with snitching rumors. Jim saw all of 50's posts, and for a minute he remained silent, posting a vintage Bird Gang era photo dripping with Dipset nostalgia. It read, "Why do you keep lying?" in the caption. Until it's reversed for free, I'm returning to sleep. For free. Male Matrix. Jim didn't stop there. He posted another Jim flex with the caption, "Somebody tell Shannon Sharpe not to start ducking this challenge now. Are you going to talk like a podcaster, or are you going to walk your talk? Because my sneakers tied, you already challenged me in front of the world, might as well finish the job, champ." Male Matrix is a shout out to his longtime friend who is serving more than 11 years on racketeering charges, which was a jab suggesting 50 was living in a fake world, creating a fake narrative. "Ooh, Chinko," he said, "he doesn't want to do it in public, let's do it in private. I know his rep as an athlete is on the line as long as you're the witness. We don't duck no challenges, size don't matter where I'm from, run it." So while 50 was trolling from the sidelines, Jim was gearing up like he was ready for war, and to top it off, Jim also posted this, "If you 40 and up and arguing with me about Nas, you already lost. You all fell for the bait, my streams go up every time you all got viral, I'm teaching you older artists a lesson in marketing. You're all so stuck in yesterday. You're all mad at the way things run today, tighten up." And then his caption said it all, "I said what I said." P.S. I will wrap circles around any artist from my era. Whoever dare step into the booth, bring some money with you, cause this game ain't free. We outside in the field, take that as you may, but we working every day. But the craziest part, while all this was going down, Nas stayed quiet. Meanwhile, Jim still baiting, still challenging, still calling himself more influential. So if NS ever did step in, this wouldn't just be a diss, it'd be a lyrical execution. But fans are calling Jim out.
Yeah. Boy, you should have never brought this up. Y'all are only 3 years apart. And Nas is just like murdering you. You asked us to look up the stats and here they are. Like Jim Jones, like you got a couple songs. I mean, like literally it's a couple. But we're talking about Nas. Let me show y'all Nas's last projects. Nas been getting it in since 2018. Jimmy, when the last time you put out an album? Oh, would you look at that? You have been dropping music. You've really been dropping music. But nobody's heard it. Nobody's listening.
If that unreleased wiretap exists, Jim may have just talked himself into more than a disc, because, while he's rapping and flexing, 50 has been too quiet, and when 50 becomes silent, that's when the bomb drops. The question now is, will Nas step in and put an end to the war of bars, or will 50 let the streets handle Jim and simply leak the truth when it's too late to do so?